On this episode of RevHang, I just think anybody that pairs Max Verstappen is just screwed.
You can also make hand signs. Very fun.
Actually looked a lot better, while the shapes still make me angry.
The Stingray Rob slander will continue until he either leaves IndyCar or does really, really, really well.
Please don't get us sued, Ben. I can't afford that. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the third season of RevHang. We are here, and we are back, and we are on camera. We're now on YouTube and Rumble, and we'll be posting video clips to Instagram and TikTok as well from here on out. I'm Nathan, and I'm very excited to be back here talking about the 2024 motorsport season. And alongside me, as always, is my good friend and co-host, Ben Magley. How you doing, Ben?
I'm doing wonderfully. I love having the sun out. I love that everybody can see my face now. It really puts a higher bar for what I wear to these podcasts and how much eye contact I have to make with my screen. I can no longer look at Reddit F1 news while we're recording. I have to give full attention, but I can also make hand signs. Very fun.
Well, we could. I found myself staring at the camera, which might be a little awkward, so I apologize if I make you feel weird.
We'll just minimize your screen a whole bunch.
There we go. All right, so this is obviously a new format. For the audio-only listeners on Spotify, nothing has changed. But for the YouTube and Rumble people, we're here. Hello. This is us, YouTube people. I already have the first two seasons in audio-only format on the channel, so you can go catch up if you'd like to. On Rumble, I do not have that up, and probably won't. But we are the first and only Formula One podcast in English on Rumble, and I'm very excited about that. So welcome everybody, all of the new faces all around. We are still on Spotify, like I said, and Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts, and anywhere you get your podcasts, so you can still feel free to check us out. But
you can even watch us all at once on all of those platforms. It only helps us.
Yes, this is true. If you can sync all the audio up on that, I would be very, very impressed. But let's just jump right in. We've got a ton of news and predictions to go over for the upcoming motorsport season. So let's dive right in. First off, the news that shook the world in the off-season for Formula One. Lewis Hamilton signed a multi-year deal with Ferrari for 2025 onwards. Who knows how many years? I don't think that's been published, but it is very exciting nonetheless. And the silly season, as a truck with a big engine drives by, has officially started.
It's a little late this year, or is it early for 2025?
Well, it's early for 2025, I'd
Okay.
say. Yeah. Season for 2024 hasn't even started, and the 2025 lineups are already getting shaken up. So,
yeah,
here we are.
To be fair, the 2024 silly season was actually not that silly, and actually mostly just pretty lame.
Yeah, I mean, nothing changed. We have the exact same lineup as we had last season. So there was no silliness, which was a little sad, but I think we all knew that 2025 was going to be the big one. And so
You're going to
far,
love our predictions for the driver loadouts
so
for
far,
each team.
It's going to be a good one. So Lewis Hamilton moving to Ferrari, absolutely insane news. No one saw that coming. We all thought there was going to be a crazy silly season, but I can pretty safely say that no one saw this coming.
Anyone who did see it coming and said so more than a year in advance, or even more than 3 months in advance, was probably just speculating and got lucky.
Yes, most likely. I remember waking up, getting ready to go to work, open my phone. That's the first thing that pops up on Instagram. And I looked for a solid 5 minutes into it to make sure it wasn't a joke, because I swear I thought it was. And then I kept seeing it and confirmed official sources, and I couldn't believe it for the rest of the day. That was kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's the end of an era.
Absolutely the end of an era, and possibly the beginning of a new one. We'll see. Maybe Hamilton will bring Ferrari their first championship since 2007. I would not keep my fingers crossed. Well,
Yeah, no, that would require Ferrari also getting their shit together, and
exactly. Um,
I don't know.
yeah. Moving on to other news. I'm sure we'll talk about that more as the season goes on. That's kind of gigantic, coming soon. Uh, Next news, we've got Gunther Steiner was released from Haas over this offseason, um, for various reasons. They say it was mutual. I doubt it. um,
Yeah, there's so many different things. Some say it was mutual, some say it was Gunther's decision because there was a sponsorship conflict or something. There's a million different reasons, but at the end of the day, uh, they have promoted their lead engineer, their head of engineering.
yes, I something like that. Some technical director, I think. I should have put his name in here. Um,
Oh well, we'll
yeah,
get it next time.
for sure. I know his last name's Komatsu because there was this joke that he's sponsoring Williams because his last name is on the Williams car. Uh, Different company, I am sure. But
But
yeah,
yeah, I'm excited for it. I think Gunther was very exciting to see, and I think he did a good job getting Haas off the ground. But I think after that, he kind of lost the lead a little bit, and that in conjunction with Gene Haas's pretty high level of apathy towards the team, it just didn't really lead to any notable results for that team.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I think it was time for a change. Who knows how it's gonna do? Well, we'll talk about Haas a little more later, but I don't see things getting much better. Um,
No.
all right, next up, we've got some more team principal news. Uh, sort of. Christian Horner has some pretty serious allegations against him right now for inappropriate behavior, is what it's being labeled. Interesting, it's not labeled as sexual harassment. Um, that seems to be what it kind of is, but it's just labeled as inappropriate behavior, so take that as you will. Nothing has been officially announced yet. There has been an independent investigation launched by Red Bull into these incidents, but nothing yet. So we'll keep you posted on that, of course. I know Ford is getting a little antsy about all of this, and they want to know what's up sooner rather than later. They kind of hinted earlier today, as I was writing the script for this podcast, that there will be serious consequences for Red Bull in terms of their relationship with Ford if nothing has been announced by the Grand Prix on Saturday. So we will see what happens there. Ford is calling for transparency and swift action. And I know Red Bull does not want to lose the partnership with Ford since they have been working on their engine for the last year and a half. And a setback like that could be disastrous for the new regulations.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially, yeah, it's just a hard hit for Red Bull. Really, no matter what the outcome is, it's just been a whole fiasco for them over the past, how long? Week?
It's been more. It's been a couple of weeks now.
More? 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot of bad publicity, and they always say any publicity is good publicity, but when you're Red Bull and you have so much control over the publicity you get anyways,
Yeah.
stuff like this can be really, really hurtful for the team.
For sure. Yeah. Not all publicity is good publicity, especially not this one.
Not when you're a multi-billion-dollar racing outfit and marketing exercise.
Yeah. No, Red Bull does not need the publicity. But moving on, I'm sure we'll talk about that more as the season progresses, probably in the next episode as well. Um, Silverstone as a circuit has been renewed for several years. I forget the exact number, but I think it was at least to 2030, if not further, which is a good thing. Silverstone is a legendary track. Um, Happy to see it stay.
If you did have to get rid of another track to keep Silverstone, which one would it be?
If I had to get rid of another track to keep Silverstone, are we
Why
taking
is it
away?
Miami?
I was gonna say, if we're taking away the obvious picks that will never leave, like Miami. Uh, I love you beat me to it, Ben. Um, yeah, Miami would be my first choice if I had to get rid of a
Or
track.
Qatar. I
Yeah,
don't know.
well, again, uh, we'll take away the newer tracks that were just added with the intent of being long term. Probably, hmm, that's a tough one. Maybe Hungaroring, Hungary, maybe.
Maybe. Yeah.
Hungary is always like an under the radar one that I forget about, and then it's like, oh, we're racing in Hungary this weekend. That's right.
Sometimes interesting stuff happens there.
The racing's
But
fine. Yeah, it's
yeah.
just one that, like, when you think about F1 tracks, I feel like Hungary always slips under the radar.
Yeah, I'm never like, oh boy, we get to go to Hungary to race. I'm so excited to watch this Hungary race.
Yeah, even though some of the races there, most of the races there are pretty decent.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Silverstone is a track I feel like can never leave the calendar. It's just got the legendary status. Spa is another track like that, but that seems like it will likely leave the calendar in the next couple of years, unfortunately. And then Monaco is also up in the air, but I think that was extended to 2028 at least. So
That track has got to be on life support.
yeah, they got to get a better deal where they can film their own stuff rather than having the Monaco filming team film it.
Yeah.
Because, oh boy, we all remember the Lance Stroll incident. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, so in our final entry on paddock news is Andretti was rejected by the F1 teams. So as of right now, they are not getting on the grid in 2025 or 2026 and beyond at the moment. We'll see what happens if anything happens in the future. I've got my predictions, and we will talk about that later in the episode.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like 2028 will be their next best chance at the soonest.
Maybe.
Because that's when GM will be ready to provide power plant support and give them their own motor.
Yeah.
But that's a long time to wait, especially when you put up this much money and this much effort into getting in sooner.
Yeah. Well,
That's rough.
yeah, we'll see what happens there. Um, but that's it for paddock news. Let's move on to our predictions. Well, not quite actually. We'll start with IndyCar and just go over all of the known drivers that we know for sure will be driving this year. Um, there's a couple of interesting things. I believe David Malukas is injured at the moment, so I think he will be replaced for the first couple of races. Um, so we'll see who takes his place. I don't remember. Was it David Malukas or was it someone else? It might have been Christian Lugard. It was one of the younger guys.
Yeah.
Um, so there might be some other drivers that show up this season that are not on this list, but as far as we know, this is what we got. In order of championship finishing from last season, we have Alex Palou, Scott Dixon, Scott McLaughlin, Pato O'Ward, Joseph Newgarden, Marcus Ericsson, Will Power, Christian Lundgaard, Alexander Rossi, Colton Herta, Kyle Kirkwood, Felix Rosenqvist, Roman Grosjean, Rinus VK, Graham Rahal, David Malukas, Helio Castro Neves, Santino Ferrucci, Marcus Armstrong, Augustine Canapino, Stingray Robb, Connor Daly, Ryan Hunter-Ray, Takuma Sato, Ed Carpenter, Marco Andretti, and Pietro Fittipaldi, who was not in the sport last season, but he was a couple of seasons ago. And then our rookies, Tom Blomqvist got a full-time drive with Meyershank Racing. That is exciting.
Yeah.
Kyle Larson is a NASCAR driver who will be taking part in the Indy 500 with Arrow McLaren.
That would be cool.
Yep, Linus Lundqvist somehow in 2 races convinced Chip Ganassi Racing that he's good enough. So Linus Lundqvist will start his official rookie season with Chip Ganassi. We've got Christian Rasmussen, who I assume came from Indy Lights. He's a rookie with Ed Carpenter Racing. And then Kiffin Simpson, who I also assume is from Indy Lights, also convinced Chip Ganassi Racing that he's good enough. So I think Chip Ganassi just expanded their team to have more cars because they have a ton of cars this year. But
Yeah, that's 4 for them, right?
at 4, 5, looks like
5?
5, yeah.
Man. Yeah, that's
So
going to be a full paddock for sure.
absolutely,
It's cool to see because they have some really strong older drivers, but they're also bringing in new ones. So it's good to see, especially if Pelot decides to move somewhere else.
yeah. Which he's been trying to do for so long.
Yeah.
Um, we'll see what happens there, but maybe he'll go to Formula One. We're gonna bring that back.
Ooh, yeah, that'd be a good one.
Bring back those rumors. All right, now on to our full season predictions for IndyCar. Um, Ben, why don't you go first with the total different race winners?
All right. So I think there's going to be 6 this year. I think
Okay.
that's a nice round number. We recorded our end of season summary pretty recently, and I already forgot how many I predicted last season and how many there actually were. So 6 feels like a good number.
Yeah, I went with 8. I think with 18 races, 8 is probably a good number. It's so hard to tell before the season. But IndyCar is definitely more. It's way more possible for 8 winners to happen than in Formula One.
Yeah, you'll actually see our predictions, I think, for F1 were actually half of the total different race winners for each of us
Yeah, right.
for those predictions. So
All right. Total DNFs. What do you got, Ben?
87.
87. And
Don't ask me why, I just pulled it out.
okay, I also don't have a reason, but I went with 96 for the total DNFs for the IndyCar season. Driver with the most DNFs. What do you got, Ben?
My man, Roman Grosjean.
Roman Grosjean. Not a bad guess. I hope you're not right. I have Stingray Rob. He was up there challenging for it last season.
Gotta hope you're right.
So yeah, I don't know how he's still in the sport, but props to him, I guess. Um,
Yeah,
all right, driver with most pole positions.
it's gotta be Herta. Please
Gotta be
give him
Herta.
something.
Okay. I went with Joseph Newgarden. I'm pulling a U from last season.
Ooh,
So Joseph Newgarden is my man on
that's worth a
qualifying there.
shot.
Yeah, we'll see. Most consistent driver. What do you have?
I actually just changed this while we were talking, but I put Kyle Kirkwood.
Interesting.
I think even though he's driving for Andretti, I think there's a chance because he felt pretty consistent last season, even with Andretti pit style. So I think it's worth a shot this year if they iron some of those kinks out.
Hmm. I like it. All right. Most consistent driver I have is Stingray Rob as well. Let's keep
Nice.
in mind, most consistent does not mean consistently at the top necessarily.
Just got to be
Just
consistent.
got to be
Really playing the
consistent.
algorithm.
Yep. We're talking standard deviations on finish positions. That's what the metric is. So Stingray Rob is my pick. We're already slandering people this season. We couldn't
The
even
Stingray
wait.
Rob slander will continue until he either leaves IndyCar or does really, really, really well.
Yep. We're only 18 minutes into the season. We're already throwing shade on
Yep.
people who are way more talented than we are. Uh,
Well, we don't know that. Neither one of us has gotten to drive an IndyCar, so
this is true.
there's no way to know.
Yep. Maybe in the future, our phones are open. If you'd like
Yeah,
a test driver, um, I'm sure both of us would greatly oblige.
I drive really fast in our Honda Clarity plug-in electric hybrid on back roads, so I have the training that I need.
There you go. Well, if we're talking electric hybrids, you should drive an F1 car, Ben.
There you go. Although IndyCar has been testing with hybrids a lot more this off season, so it
Yeah.
sounds like that's imminently coming up, which I think would be a good shot in the arm for the sport.
Yeah, that would be cool. They're already basically at carbon neutral with their biofuel. So, um, yeah, more technology, better things.
Yeah, They could start eating into F1's carbon footprint.
Maybe. All right, least consistent driver. What do you have?
Also, Colton Herta.
Colton Herta. Okay. And I have David Malukas. He is at McLaren, so he will have the opportunity to score big points. But he is also David Malukas, so
So
he will have the opportunity to crash. Yeah. So that's my pick and the reasoning why. All right, driver with the most wins. What do you got, Ben?
I have Joseph Newgarden.
Okay, and I have Alex Palou.
And that leads into the championship picks,
Yep.
which I think it is going to be Newgarden this year. He did so well on the ovals, and he almost had it put together on many of the street courses. So if he can just, get that little extra couple tenths on the street courses and the road courses, I think he'll be set to go and in a very good position.
Gotcha. Yep, I have Alex Palou. I think he's gonna win another one. Just looking at what happened last season, I don't think there's any real reason to believe that will stop. But who knows? Could be wrong. Kind of hope I'm wrong. I hope it's Pato O'Ward. But
Don't we all?
we'll see. Pato or Marcus Ericsson. Those are my two favorites. But we'll see what happens. I think I'm very excited for the IndyCar season. I'm always excited for the IndyCar season. It's so much less predictable than F1 that every race you just have no idea what's going to happen. Same can't be said for F1. F1 is attractive for different reasons.
Yeah, it's a whole different beast.
Yep. But in terms of IndyCar and just the excitement of not knowing what's going to happen going into the race, and even halfway through the race, you don't know who's going to win. I love that sport.
Yep. Yeah, I'm excited to go to the Portland Grand Prix again this year.
I know I say this every year, but this year's the year. I want to go with you, Ben.
We'll make it happen.
Gotta make it happen. My sister is getting married in early September, so I need to make sure there's no scheduling conflicts.
Oh wait, yeah, I do have a friend's wedding that's actually happening right around that time, so I don't think this will be my year either. Darn people getting married.
Yep. Yeah. How dare people get married, Ben?
Yeah, it's just
Cough, cough.
just the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Formula One. Let's move on.
Anyways, yeah.
List of drivers. There's less drivers in Formula One than IndyCar. Thank goodness for my throat. Max Verstappen, of course, came in first last season, followed by Sergio Perez. Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris, Carlos Sainz, George Russell, Oscar Piastri, Lance Stroll, Pierre Gasly, Esteban Ocon, Alex Albon, Yuki Tsunoda, Valtteri Bottas, Nico Hulkenberg, Daniel Ricciardo, Zhou Guanyu, Kevin Magnussen, and our boy, Logan Sargent.
Our boy, our beautiful Florida man boy.
Our beautiful Florida man boy. Yes, the Kyle Kirkwood of Formula One. Yeah. So that is the lineup for this season. Let's go on to our livery ratings. I see memes scrolling past my eyeballs in another pane.
I'm just priming myself to see if there's anything good.
Gotcha.
That was just a video game ad.
Yeah. I was
Anyways.
really confused. All right. By the way, if you're watching on the video format, we will have many memes this season, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Ready to go to throw up on screen. So if you're on Spotify and you're just listening at home, I highly suggest moving over to YouTube or Rumble and check out our video feed because you'll be able to see what we're looking at. More graphics, just so it's easier to explain when you can see it sometimes, especially memes.
Plus, you can see Nathan's reaction whenever I say something stupid.
It's not that bad, Ben. Yeah. All right, livery ratings. Let's go into it, Ben.
Let's go.
Okay. All right.
Now with pictures.
Now with pictures, yes. Let's.
Should I bring up a picture for each one?
No, I'll put that in post.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, don't worry, I got you. Uh, Red Bull. This is gonna be a very disorganized format for the first couple of episodes, by the way, until we figure out what we're doing, video
Yeah.
wise. But anyway, Red Bull. First off, Ben, out of 10, how do you rate the Red Bull livery, if I can speak?
It is a 7.
It is a 7. I agree. We both have it at 7. It is a legendary livery. It looks fantastic, and it is same as last year out of 10.
Yep.
All right. Ferrari is next up. What do you got?
So you and I kind of differed on this one. I gave it an 8. I actually don't mind the yellow and white as much as I thought I would. And I like that it's mostly red.
Yes, it is mostly red. People were a little concerned when all of the carbon fiber liveries started coming out. I personally thought a black Ferrari would be really sick, but also I'd be upset like everybody else.
Yep. It would just look kind of like the Haas, I think.
Yeah. So you have an 8. I have it at a 6. You like the yellow and white. I am not a fan of the yellow, especially. At least how it's implemented. I don't like the yellow border around the white numbers, for sure. But I'm just nitpicking. I was a little harsh on a lot of these liveries, except for one, which I might have gone too ham on. And speaking of which, next up is Mercedes. What do you got, Ben?
I gave Mercedes an 8.
An 8.
I like the fact that they're kind of blending the black and the silver arrows. I wish there's a little more silver, but I like the red on the intake up top. And overall, I think it's just a pretty solid design. And I think any other year, I would have given it a little higher. But every other car is also predominantly black with a little bit of accent coloring. So it kind of gets lost in the shuffle for me.
Yep. I gave it a 9. I love this livery. I love the silver blended with the black. The only reason it doesn't get a 10 is because they took so much paint off that yeah, it's a very black car. I think they could have gone with a little bit more of the Petronas blue if they threw a little bit more on the back, especially towards the back end of the car. I think that would have looked fantastic. So that's why it gets a 9. I probably could have bumped it down to an 8. But it's my favorite livery of the season so far.
Wow.
Until we get to the special liveries, which McLaren always hits out of the park.
I wonder what an all Petronas blue car would look like with like red accents.
I don't know. That would be pretty interesting, yeah.
Kind of cool.
All right. Next up is Alpine. What do you got, Ben?
I gave this one a 5.
I also gave this one a 5 because I don't hate it, but it's also nothing special. So, it's a black car with a little bit of color. They did add some colors to the nose in testing to give them credit. But yeah, not huge fan. Don't hate it. It's fine. Next up, we got McLaren. What do you got, Ben?
McLaren, I gave this one an 8. It is another car with black accents, but similar to the steak car, which we'll talk about in a little bit. I really like how much the orange pops. I like that they kind of brightened it up a little bit for this year. I'm still not a huge fan of the Ghoul Chrome wheel covers, but the rest of the car is pretty good, and it really reminds me of their IndyCar livery, which I like a lot. So
yeah,
it scores pretty highly for me.
Yep, I give it a 7. That might have been a little harsh, but I also really like it. It does look a lot like their IndyCar liveries. The only reason I took a lot of points away, not a lot, I took a couple points off of where it could have been. They got rid of the blue. I love the McLaren blue.
Yeah. It was kind of cool, like the orange and blue together.
Yeah. So it's just black and orange now, which is a very Pato award. Um, but yeah, I miss the blue. They have chrome numbers, which I'm also not a fan of. Um,
Yeah, I know they're trying to get that Vodafone nostalgia with the chrome numbers, but
yeah, didn't
you're not going to get me McLaren.
no, didn't quite pull it off right. But not a bad looking livery by any stretch. Definitely
No,
up there for me. I think it's ranked.
above average.
I think it's tied. Oh no, it's tied for third. Okay, for me. All right, not tied for third for me is Steak, which is up next. What do you got, Ben?
This is a car where at first I was like, oh, great, a black and green car. Granted, they released their car, it was one of the first ones that we saw. So that kind of softened the blow for me. Another black accent car, but I really like how bright the green is, and it's a car that really sold me when I actually saw it during testing out in the sun and the lights. It actually looks really striking, and I can appreciate that.
Yeah,
I think it's actually one of the better black accent cars on the grid. And yeah, you don't really see much bright green on the grid, so good for them.
this is true. So you gave it a 7. I, in full transparency, originally gave it a 4. I hated the renders. It looks to me like something I would have made in F1 my team when I was 15 years old.
Yeah, I do think most of the cars in Need for Speed, when I customized them, ended up being neon green and black.
Yeah. I don't hate the color choices. I just think, and especially the shapes on the livery, I think is what I just think my team, like the livery creator, when I see it. I don't know why I had such a vile reaction to it. So that was my original was a 4. But then after seeing it on the grid, or no, on track, I should say, the color changed from the renders, and it actually looked a lot better. While the shapes still make me angry, uh, for some reason.
Save that as an audio clip.
Oh,
the shapes make Nathan angry.
Shapes make me angry. Yeah. I did like the colors a lot more, and it definitely popped out and stood out on track. So, yeah, I gave it a 6, which I know I'm talking it up now, but I bumped it up from a 4 to a 6. Leave me alone. I tried.
That's a 50% gain for Steak. It's the highest gain they'll see all year.
Yep. All right, that's 6. That's probably the amount of points they'll score this season. I'm just kidding. Bottas is actually saying things like, "Get ready, we're coming." So who knows? But that could just be like Bottas saying things. I mean, the man has a legendary mullet, so he's gonna say things.
He's really fighting Daniel Ricciardo for that honorary American title. I mean, the dude hangs out in Colorado, has a mullet, and likes drinking beer.
Yeah,
I mean,
he drinks gin a lot though, so I think Ricciardo still kind of has that. But if we have 2 honorary Americans on the grid, it's definitely Ricciardo and Bottas, and then Lewis Hamilton is also getting up there. He lives in New York most of the time.
Yeah, the mullet and the mustache really sell it for me, and the ball cap. I don't think I've actually seen Daniel Ricciardo wearing just like a regular, like snapback baseball cap.
Yeah, no, he wears the like the more flap bill style, but most Red Bull drivers do. Perez doesn't.
Yeah.
So probably just style choices. Red Bull has many. So let's go on to Aston Martin. Why did I give? Okay, I'm changing my. This is not. It's not.
What were you thinking? I thought that was kind of weird when I saw it too.
Yeah, I don't know why it moved it up in the. No. Okay, things are happening formatting wise. It's fine. Okay, Aston Martin, go ahead, Ben.
Okay. Well, it looks like we're tied now.
Yeah.
I gave it an 8 because I really liked it last year. And this year, there's a little bit less yellow accenting, which I kind of miss. But it's still very tasteful, and it's still mostly green. And it's a really good color green, and I just like how it looks. It's an 8. It's a solid livery.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I have changed it from 6 to 8. I I think I had it at 6. I really like the livery. I think I had it at 6 because I don't know why I had it at 6, but I changed it to 8
Schizo
because I
moment.
agree. I agree with you, and I just could not keep it at the same ranking I now have steak at. Uh,
Yeah,
so
it's it's similar to it ranks similarly to Red Bull for me, but it's a newer livery that I haven't seen for the past however long they've had it.
yeah, I think they're starting
Um,
to try to go for the Ferrari thing, where that's just their color, because they've
yeah,
always been pretty solid in that green color, that British racing green, which I love that
yes.
color. It's beautiful.
In the next 2 years, this livery will probably score the same as Red Bull's for me.
Yeah, yeah, I'd say so. All right. Next up, we've got Haas. We also agree on this one. What do you got, Ben?
I gave it a 6.
I also gave it a 6. Uh, Nothing inherently wrong with it. It's
I think the
just
MoneyGram logo on the front splitter looks like a mustache.
okay. uh, all right. Not sure what to do with that information, but I appreciate it. Uh, yeah, it's fine. It's very basic. Another kind of my team ish kind of
They're kind of an American team,
livery.
but also most Americans hate them.
Yeah. No, let's. Yeah. It's a Haas
Moving on.
livery. They haven't had a good livery since the Rich Energy one. So
Yeah.
um, there you go. I have it at 6 as well. I think putting it alongside steak is fair.
Yeah.
All right. Uh, RB or V Carb or Visa Cash App Red Bull or Visa Cash App RB. I don't even know what their name is. It's too long and makes no sense. So RB is what they're officially going by, I guess.
I like. Okay. I guess I'll start off with the score. I gave him a 7.
Uh huh.
I like that there are so many different colors on this car.
Yes.
It's pretty cool. It appeals to my 5-year-old brain. I
Absolutely.
see it in its shiny blue and white and red,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very exciting.
Yes.
Um, the green Cash App logo on the front splitter really bothers me.
Uh
I
huh.
don't think green belongs anywhere on this car,
Yep.
and I don't like the Visa logo on the side. I think it look better. It just takes up so much space.
Uh huh.
I would love to see what this car looks like without that Visa logo and just like a straight up blue side pod.
Yeah.
But I like the color combo. I like that they're bringing back the blue, and it just looks a little disjointed to me. Otherwise, I would have given it a higher score.
Okay. Yeah, this is tied for my least favorite livery on the grid now, which I was shocked about because, and I'm actually not going to change this. I have it at a 5. I have this ranked at a 5, same as Alpine. Um,
Wow. Ouch.
I loved this livery when it showed up when the renders came out. Absolutely loved it. And then I saw the rear wing and
Hmm.
the giant blob of green from the Cash App logo on there on one side of the rear wing, which makes the car look imbalanced. Uh,
Yeah, it's messed up.
Very
Oh,
messed
yeah,
up.
I meant to. I guess I meant to say the rear splitter and not the front
Okay,
splitter.
I was confused, but
Yeah.
I just let you run with it. Uh,
Thanks.
all right, and then also the front profile of the car is hideous. The white does not work on that front wing. The white and red, when you look at it from
Hmm.
straight on, I think it's horrible. That's just my opinion, but I don't like it. I liked this livery. I probably would have put it at a 7 or an 8, and then I saw it on track and hated it. So didn't hate it, but it dropped it from an 8 to a 5 once I saw it in the sunlight.
Ouch.
So
That's a steep drop.
I know. Again, I'm being really harsh this season on liveries, but last season where they were mostly so good that I think we've fallen from grace a little bit here.
Yeah. Hey, the teams need to know what you think so
Yeah,
they can fix it.
because my opinion matters to Visa.
Yeah. Otherwise, how are they gonna know?
Yeah. Also lower your APR rates, please. Uh, but
We're tired of prime rates. Give us something a little better, please.
yeah,
I would take a 3% drop.
yes. Um, all right. So that's the RB slander for the day out. Uh, really, I think the only thing that really bothers me is the green blob on the rear wing.
It's
It's
atrocious.
really bad. That's like almost when like Ferrari did the green stripe on their rear fin
Oh,
that
for
one year.
Mission Winnow.
Whatever, when I, yeah,
Yeah,
that was bad too. This is on that
that was
level.
really bad.
Yeah. All right. Last but certainly not least, we got Williams.
The Williams. I gave this one a 9 because their sponsorships are well integrated into the livery of the car. It hasn't changed a whole lot from last year, but I love that Duracell sponsorship logo turning into the copper top on the air intake. I like the blue color they use every year. It always hits. It actually looks pretty good with the black accents because they've been doing that for a while. It's nothing new or different.
Mm-hmm.
I do wish if they had a little more blue to even out the ratio, or even maybe a little copper. I don't know. Maybe Duracell just needed to pay a little more. This would probably be a 10 out of 10, but I really like it. And yeah, the big thing for me is the sponsorships are well integrated and almost a part of the car's livery.
Yeah. I originally had it at an 8, but as you were talking, I moved it up to a 9.
You're welcome, Williams.
Yes. I love this livery too. It's fantastic. There's not much to complain about. Um, Not quite a 10 because there's not a ton of pop in the colors. It's not going to stand out on the grid, which I think is the one thing that brings it down from a 10 for me.
Mm-hmm.
I brought it up to a 9 because I think I do like this more than the Mercedes. I'm going to keep Mercedes at a 9,
Ooh,
but we'll give this a 9.1. Uh, I think this
I
actually
think
might be my favorite livery this year.
yeah, me too. I think what would make it a 10 for me? Take that copper from the air intake, put a little strip on the wheel covers. Done. Easy.
Oh, yeah. To look like
A
the
little
top of
ring.
batteries. Oh, that would look so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that way you see like a flashy copper ring as the wheels turn.
Yeah. That'd be sick. And then put like Duracell on the end plates of the front wing so it kind of like stands
Oh,
next to that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, just add a little more copper and we're good. Duracell, pay up.
Yeah. Yeah. I have always, since
Boom.
Duracell launched with Williams, I've always loved that they've made the air intake the battery. It looks so cool. It makes so much sense. It's awesome.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Boom.
So,
Fix your livery.
yeah. No, great job, Williams. Really can't complain. We're going beyond the level of nitpicking now. So, uh,
We're actively designing a new one for you. You're welcome.
okay, Ben, I'll let you do that. uh, all right. 2025. Well, that runs off our liveries. That's all 10 teams. Please let us know if you disagree. I'm sure I'm going to get absolutely hated online for my steak livery thoughts. But
Who knows? I don't know. I feel like on principle the team itself hasn't really gotten that much love, so maybe that'll balance it out.
yeah, and I don't even know if they're steak or if they're Kick Sauber because they kept calling him Kick Sauber in testing. Um, but it is officially steak F1 team. So
Yes, but I think steak is not like legally allowed to operate in Switzerland, and that's caused some
I think
problems.
there's a
So I
few
think that's why
countries.
everyone's calling it Kick Sauber.
Oh, it's a few countries. That's what it is. No, you're absolutely right, Ben, because anywhere online gambling is not legal, they can't be steak. So that explains why they're called that in Bahrain, probably all the other Muslim countries.
That's why they can't be referenced. Yeah, they can still have it on the car, but they can't be talked
I
about.
don't think they can even have it on the car.
Oh, interesting.
No.
Because it's pretty prevalent. It was pretty prevalent in testing.
Was it steak or was it kick on the side? I don't remember now.
Wait, hold on. Now I'm having Mandela
It
effect.
might have been kick on the side. Because kick is just a streaming platform, right?
Yeah.
Look this up, Ben, and get back to me, and we'll throw it up on the screen. But yeah, so with that aside, 2025 driver lineup predictions. It was kick on the side.
Yeah. Or
No, it
steak.
was stick. Huh.
Yeah.
Wild. Here, Ben, you want to go into your dual screen?
Oh, yeah.
Throw this up here.
Yeah. So, oh, it's really small. Hold on. There we go. Yeah, so you can see. I don't know if I can make it bigger. Sauber Motorsports. All right, come on. Oh, that had. Oh, that's the F2 car.
F2 car.
Why did it send me
I don't
there?
know. But you can kind of see from
Huh.
that.
But yeah, you can see it's steak.
Yeah.
And I can't really tell from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we
Steak.
go.
Huh.
Yep.
I know it has to do with advertising for a online gambling site though, so whenever
yeah,
that's
because for sure none of the announcers were calling it steak. They're all calling it kick Sauber.
Yeah. So we'll see how things change with that throughout the season. But yeah. So you can go ahead and go
Very
back to your headshot, Ben.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, cool.
Driver lineup predictions. Let's go over them. 2025, next season. Who we got? Not this season, next season.
Next season. This season has already been decided.
Has very much already been decided, yes. Red Bull Racing. Who is your lineup for next season? This is when the craziness starts. We're on the first one.
Yes, here we go. The paranoia sets in.
Yeah.
I have for Red Bull, Verstappen, and Sainz.
And Sainz, okay.
Yeah. So we all know that Sainz is leaving Ferrari for the 2025 season, and I think he's done well enough to get himself a Red Bull seat.
Oh,
I don't really see many other drivers that really could compete with Verstappen or really even compete for that second place like Red Bull wants them to, except for Sainz.
Yeah.
At least not ones that are on the market.
Yeah. No, that's it. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. I have actually gone for Verstappen and Ricciardo. I don't think Ricciardo can compete with Verstappen at the moment, but it seems very much to me like he is just being ushered into that seat. So those are my thoughts. I think Ricciardo, I think Ricciardo or Sainz is what it's gonna be. I don't think Perez will stay next year. It's gonna be one of
the
those
other
two.
Options. Yeah, I mean Albon, I don't think is going back to Red Bull anytime soon.
Albon would be insane to go back to Red Bull. So Ricciardo, Sainz, if they can somehow get Lando Norris out of his contract, which McLaren is adamant that no one can, Norris would be another one. But anyone else is a downgrade, I think, from Perez.
Yep.
It's going to be Ricciardo or Sainz, is my guess. Next up, we've got Mercedes. What are your thoughts, Ben?
So I've got Russell staying. I mean, he's been a consistent performer for them. He's young. I don't see him going anywhere. And then I have Albon because I think he's good enough to move on from that Williams seat. Williams has a pretty good relationship with Mercedes, I believe. And I can see him moving into that second slot. And I think he'd be a great driver to support or challenge Russell even.
Yeah. Albon was my second pick for Mercedes as well. But I think it's going to be Russell and Alonso. I think Alonso will make the jump from Aston Martin into a team that can win races, most likely. Maybe.
You think Alonso's going to be racing long enough for Mercedes to want to give him that shot?
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I think Alonso's got at least another few years in him. I think him and Hamilton have the same amount of longevity, in my opinion.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So they're around the same age. I think Hamilton's maybe a year or two younger than Alonso. But for me, it was a choice between a multiple-time world champion to fill that slot from Hamilton, or look to the future, have someone long term, like super long term, and go with Albon. It was a tough choice between those two for me. Albon makes a ton of sense. Um, but in terms of where Mercedes want to get, where they want to be, I think Alonso will get them there faster, and then they could possibly take a younger driver in a few years. There are a few
Right,
drivers
that
in
makes
F2.
sense.
There's a few drivers in F2 that will almost assuredly be on the grid in the upcoming years and already have a couple years of F1 experience under their belt by the time Alonso retires. They might be able to snag a Lando Norris by then. They might be able to snag a Piastri by then. Um, so I think Alonso makes a lot of sense to me.
Ah, that does make sense. That's really looking far into the future.
Well, I think that's what Mercedes has to do right now.
Yep.
Um,
No, makes sense.
so, all right. Next up, we got Ferrari, and it's already set.
Yep,
So,
that one was pretty easy. We agree on that one.
Hamilton, Leclerc. Yep.
I think that's going to be a really strong driver pairing.
I think there's going to be some fireworks, yeah. Uh,
Yeah, I think Hamilton will probably also really help team strategy in terms of pits and, just overall race strategy just because he has so much experience from a team who has it down. He might actually be able to affect and positively influence a team that has seen some struggles in that area before.
yeah, I agree. Next up, we got McLaren, and both of us don't see any changes. We both have Norris and Piastri in 2025.
Yep.
I think that's a pretty safe bet.
Yep. Great racers, young racers who will stay with them for a long time as long as McLaren stays relatively close to the top of the midfield or bottom of the top field.
Yeah. All right, Aston Martin. What do you got, Ben?
So I have Aston Martin staying the same. Stroll and Alonso. Um, I have not heard anything about Stroll leaving, and that seems pretty sure that he'll probably be staying there. He's not that bad that they need to get rid of him immediately.
Yeah,
And Alonso, if he has a really good season this year, maybe he chooses to extend and see what he can do there. Because he has been pretty integral to the development of this program where they're at now. So maybe they can offer him something to keep him there a little longer.
yeah. I have Lance Stroll, and of course, I said Alonso will go to Mercedes. So my prediction is Felipe Drugovich from Formula 2. He is their
Very cool.
current reserve driver, test driver, and they've already used him as a replacement for Stroll at the beginning of the last season during testing. Um, so it just makes sense to me. He already knows the car. They've already like him. He's honestly pretty quick. So I think Dragovich makes a lot of sense.
Yep. I will say I would like to see Drogovic maybe take Stroll's spot in 2025. I don't know how likely that is, but that'd be a cool driver swap.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have Alpine. What do you got, Ben?
Same as always, Gasly and Ocon.
Yep, same here. I don't see that changing either. And then Williams. Who do you got? Oh,
I have a you're gonna love this one. So I have Perez. I think it's definitely a drop for Red Bull, but I think it's a team culture that could really support him. And he won't be getting nearly as many points, but I think it's a good place for him to really flex his skills and show off what he can do in a car and a team that really can throw their support behind him as the main driver. And then hopefully maybe Logan Sargent stays. Of course, I'd kind of want to see the Americans stay in, but if he does well this year, I don't see why they wouldn't extend, especially if Albon gets a chance to head elsewhere.
yes.
And a chance for Sargent to learn from a racer like Perez, I think, would be huge in his development.
Absolutely. I have Albon staying at Williams, and then I also have Perez at Williams. I do, of course, want Sargent to stay in the sport. But I only see that happening if he has a solid season and Alex Albon leaves.
Yeah.
Because I am 95% sure that Perez will not be at Red Bull next season. and there are only a couple of landing spots that make sense for him and that will probably have openings, and those are Williams and Haas and maybe Stake. But if I were him and I had those three options, I would choose Williams 3 out of 3 times.
Yeah. Yeah, unquestioned.
Yeah. So, all right. I've got Albon Perez for Williams. Next up, we have RB. What do you got, Ben?
I have Lawson and Ricardo. I know you had Ricardo moving up to Red Bull, but I have Ricardo staying there. Um, we saw a little bit from him last year and competent, but versus Sainz in the same seat, I don't think he would have a chance at Red Bull in terms of race pace or what he could do for the team.
Yeah.
And I would like to see him maybe stay at RB to provide, team feedback and also to give experience similar to like Perez and Sargent, kind of take that leadership role and help mentor Lawson, who is super promising coming into it, but will definitely still need some mentorship.
Yeah, for sure. I also have Liam Lawson in the RB next season. He was essentially promised that seat by Helmut Marko. That does not really mean anything in F1 world, but I just don't. It makes no sense to keep Lawson out for another year. So I have Lawson in the first spot, and then I have Ayumu Iwasa in the second spot. He was an F2 driver forever in the Red Bull development program. He was just missed out to Yuki Tsunoda getting selected, and then of course AlphaTauri was kind of slotted in full for a long time. We haven't had a lot of new Red Bull talent come into the sport recently, so I think they are going to wipe the slate clean and start fresh next season. So I think it's going to be Lawson and Iwasa. Iwasa's the one that seems like it might be a toss-up. He's currently competing in Japanese Super Formula. So it could be somebody else. There are so many Red Bull development drivers, up-and-comers. But to me, that's the most likely second person to Lawson. Yeah, that's my thoughts on RB. That one seems like I will most likely not get that one correct, but
It's worth a shot.
we'll see.
That'd be cool to see.
Yeah. All right, Steak. What do you got?
So, the long-awaited Schumacher return.
Mm-hmm.
Not Michael Schumacher,
But
but
that's not gonna
Mick
happen.
Schumacher. Yeah. Mick Schumacher and Nico Hulkenberg, because I think they'll be setting up for the 2026 season where they become an Audi team. And I think an Audi team is going to want some German drivers. I think Hulkenberg has the experience that they would need to guide the team. And I think Schumacher has obviously the weight of the name and all the stuff he can do marketing wise with that. In addition to the fact that he's a young driver who's gotten some experience on the grid, take that for what you will. And he's also been very closely tied in with Mercedes, and I'm sure getting at least some experience in that respect. So I think he might actually have a chance at Audi once that team takes shape.
Yep. I have Carlos Sainz and Teo Porcher. Completely different set of people. Your Schumacher thing makes a lot of sense. If I were to make a change to this list currently, I would probably remove Porcher and put Schumacher in that spot. Just to have a German driver there. The reason I did not have Sainz going to Red Bull is because I had him going to Stake the entire time. Reason being, Stake, of course, as most people know, is going to turn into Audi in 2026. And Sainz and his father both have very close ties with Audi. And so it makes sense to me that Sainz would want to go there, get his foothold, because he would have a couple years with that team. And then when they turn into Audi, have all the money, have the engines, have all the development that's going into the 2026 car. He will be in that team, all set up. He will be obviously the team leader, and so
he'd be the driver.
He'd be the driver, yeah. So for me, Sainz looking at Red Bull versus Stake, you either win you go to Red Bull and have a race-winning car now, but also drive next to one of the greatest drivers of all time. Or you go to stake, where you're going to be probably at the back of the field right now, but in a couple years' time, most likely challenging for the championship.
Yeah, yeah. The science decision for this team was kind of a linchpin for my entire predictions sheet. Once they got down to that, I just kind of took a couple minutes and looked at my predictions and thought, "Oh no, this this might not work."
Yeah.
Because it just seems like such a solid pairing.
Yeah.
I'm really not sure about Hulkenberg in that position, what his longevity would be, but it's worth a shot.
Well, honestly, looking at yours, if I were to change anything for yours, I would take Hulkenberg out and put Sainz in next to Schumacher.
Yeah.
I think Sainz Schumacher makes a lot of sense too. Um, so yeah, Porcher,
Or maybe
maybe. I don't know. I chose
I
Teo.
have a. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I
Sorry.
was just gonna say I chose Teo Porcher because he's currently their reserve driver and he won Formula 2 last season, I believe. So makes sense to me.
Yep, great young driver to have in the seat.
Yep.
Yeah. So my Haas one is kind of weird. I was actually just looking about it and thinking I might actually switch
Okay.
one of the drivers. I'll let you guess which one with Hulkenberg Estate. For Haas, I had Bottas and Antonelli. Bottas is who I was thinking would be a pretty easy switch for Hulkenberg between Stake and Haas, since Hulkenberg's already at Haas and Bottas is already at Stake. And again, he would kind of fill in that team development, leadership, mentorship position pretty well, depending on how long he wants to stay in the sport, that is.
Yep. That's the big question mark for me, yeah.
Yeah, but I have Bottas at Haas right now, just to shake things up, see what happens. And aside from that, it's pretty much the same as yours. Antonelli is a pretty good young driver, I think, who would be able to learn and hopefully pick up the reins. And maybe once Haas starts doing well, we'll be able to actually also do well.
Yeah. I have Hulkenberg staying at Haas, and then I also have Kimi Antonelli as the second driver in 2025. He wins in any car he's ever driven. So he's just starting F2 this year. Depending on how he does in F2, he might get into F1, he might not. He is being touted as the next big up and comer, kind of like Leclerc was, like Norris was, like Piastri was. So he's kind of the next guy. He won Formula 4, and then the next season won Formula 3, and now he's going into Formula 2. And those previous 2 seasons, he won handily, and it wasn't even really in question at all. So depending on how he does in F2, if he wins, I think he's guaranteed a spot in F1 next season, just with all of the chaos going on, especially at a team that likes to wait until last second to announce their drivers, like Haas.
Yeah.
So I think he gets in next year with Haas, just like you.
Yep. Yeah. And actually just went back and I switched Hulkenberg for Bottas. So I now have Stake with Bottas and Schumacher and Haas with Hulkenberg and Antonelli.
That makes sense to me too,
for the reasons that I was talking about. I think that just makes more sense.
Yeah. But yeah, so I have Bottas leaving F1. I have Zhou leaving F1. Who else? Do I have anybody else leaving F1? That might be it.
Tsunoda.
I have out. Yeah. SDU. So
yes, I have Bottas staying in, but I have Magnussen. Oh, Magnussen also
Magnussen
leaving.
also leaving. Yep. I think I have one more rookie on my list than you, so that would make sense. Because yeah, you don't have Bottas leaving, but I do. So
yeah, and I have Sargent staying, but you have Iwasa coming in.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So those are our predictions for the 2025 driver lineup. We'll see what happens. I'm sure none of this will be correct because this silly season is going to be absolutely insane.
I can't wait.
I am also very excited. This Hamilton thing shook up the field so much.
It's exactly what we needed.
Yeah, it was the catalyst. much like the Vettel retirement / Alonso to Aston Martin / Piastri, it has come to my attention. Tweet. So, um, yeah, very fun stuff. All right, let's move into our full season predictions for Formula One this season. Ben,
Say it with
Constructors
me.
Championship.
It's going to be Red Bull in
Place
first
is
place.
going to be Red Bull.
Yep.
Yeah, Red Bull in first place. Anyone surprised has not watched the last 2 seasons. All right, Ferrari.
Yep,
Is
Ferrari for
second for me and for you. And then third place, who do you have?
I have Mercedes. This is where we kind of diverge a little bit.
Yep, I have McLaren. In testing, Mercedes did not quite look on it. So I got McLaren third. And then what do you got? Fourth.
I have McLaren in fourth.
And I have Mercedes in fourth. So we just switched those.
Just switched. I don't think McLaren's going to be super far behind, but God, no matter how they look in testing, they always seem to struggle at the start of the season. And I think that'll just give Mercedes a little bit of an edge.
This is the year. I'm wearing my McLaren hat filming this. This is the year they don't start off bad. If they can start a year not bad, if they started last year where they ended last year and just kept it all the way through,
probably would have beat Ferrari.
Second.
Yeah.
They would have been second in the championship. This is the year. This is our year, boys.
Stay strong, McLaren fans. Stay strong.
Yes. Yeah. Just keep believing. If you watched the 3rd episode of season 6 of Drive to Survive, there are some concerns, but let's not talk about that. I'm still watching Drive to Survive right now, but I just watched the McLaren episode, and it was dramatized, I'm sure, but it was a little concerning. Anyway, moving on to 5th place in the championship. Who do you got?
Another little divergence. I have Aston Martin in 5th.
I've got RB because they copied the Red Bull from last season.
That does make sense, yeah.
So, and then 6th place, who do you got?
RB, because they copied the Red Bull from last season.
Yeah, I've got Aston Martin, so we switched those.
Yep.
And then 7th, who do you got?
In
Here
7th,
on out, we're the same.
Yep, I have Williams.
Yep, 8th, we've got Alpine.
9th,
we have Stake.
Yep, Stake, and then Haas falling up the rear.
Yeah. Yep. I don't see Haas getting anything better than 10th.
Yep, the leadership change, along with a car that we have heard next to nothing about the development on.
Except for bad things.
Yeah, except for bad things. Does not bode well.
Yeah. Haas has already come out and said that they are not where they want to be at the beginning of the season.
Although they have been saying that for the past 4 seasons.
Yep, and they've gotten last the past 3 or 4 seasons, right? So
yeah. What can you do?
Yeah, I don't think things are gonna get any better for Haas, unfortunately for them. But yeah. All right, Drivers' Championship. This is where things get spicy. First place, say it with me, Ben.
It's Verstappen.
Yeah. Okay. So not quite spicy yet. 2nd place, who do you got?
It's Perez.
I got Perez.
I think
as
the
well.
car will drive him through it.
Yeah, Red Bull's so dominant. Even though I think Perez will perform worse than he did last year, I think the car will keep him in 2nd place.
My wife is going to hate the amount of Perez slander in this episode.
Well, you know what? We've already explained to her, I don't know how many times, that we don't hate Perez, but he deserves it. Not as a person, but just as far as his driving goes.
Yeah.
Great guy. Wonderful guy. Love the guy.
Honestly, probably closer to a home team driver for us living in Oregon than a rich kid from Fort Lauderdale, Florida is.
Yeah. Or a Canadian from Montreal.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, we don't hate Perez. We're going to already start off. We're only an hour and 8 minutes into this season. We already have to start off with the
disclaimer.
With the asterisk, the disclaimer. We don't hate Perez.
We just think he's not as good a driver as he should be.
It's not even that. I just think anybody that pairs Max Verstappen is just screwed.
That is also fair, yeah.
It's just career suicide. So, like, it's not slander as much as it's, like, just, he can't do anything.
Subjective fact.
Yeah, it's Verstappen. Like anybody in that seat, I'm convinced that anybody that sits next to Verstappen is gonna have their career tank. I don't think even Sainz could challenge, at least in the first year.
Yeah.
Uh, I I don't know. I could be wrong. But yeah, we don't hate Perez. He's just not where Red Bull needs him to be, and I don't think he can be where Red Bull needs him to be.
Yep.
All right. With
Moving
all
on
that
from
out of the
that.
way,
Yeah.
third place. Who do
I
you
have
got?
Russell.
And I have Sainz. All right, fourth place.
I have Sainz.
And I have Leclerc.
Ooh.
Fifth place.
I have Hamilton.
I have Lando Norris.
Wow, you have Norris beating Hamilton.
Yep.
Okay.
Sixth place.
I have Leclerc.
And I have Hamilton.
Alrighty.
Seventh place.
I have Norris.
I've got Piastri.
All right, I have Piastri in 8th.
Okay. And I have Russell in 8th. And then 9th.
We both have Alonso, it looks like.
Both have Alonso in 9th. 10th place.
Ocon.
I have Ricardo.
Ooh.
11th place.
I have Gasly.
I have Tsunoda.
They both scored so close to each other last season, and
Yeah.
I have to believe that. I know Alpine is not looking great right now, but I have to believe they at least have something going on for them.
Yeah.
Where were we?
12th.
12th. Yeah, I have Stroll in 12th.
I have Alex Albon.
I think it's another situation of he's not faster than Albon, but I think the car is faster than Williams.
Yeah.
And
All right.
13th, I have Ricardo.
I have Stroll. 14th.
Albon.
I have Gasly. 15th.
Hulkenberg, Haas's strongest soldier.
Yes. And I have Esteban Ocon. I would have put him in 10th, but the amount of penalties he's going to get might set him back. No. 16th.
I have Tsunoda in 16th. I almost forgot to put him.
Sargent. I have Sargent in 16th, which means he's going to have to pick up some points.
Yeah.
All right. I think the Williams is going to be better this year, though.
I really hope so.
Think. Yeah. 17th.
Bottas. Oh, yeah. Look at that.
And then we both have Zhou in 18th.
Yep.
And then 19th.
I have Magnussen.
I have Hulkenberg.
And then in 20th, I know I keep saying that I'm bullish on Sargent, and I keep putting him the lowest in the point scoring, but I like to hedge my bets. So Sargent is my 20th pick.
Okay, I have Magnussen in last.
Also a very solid choice.
Yeah. All right. Total safety cars, that runs off the championship predictions. So now we're up to total safety cars and VSCs. We got pretty close to this last season. How are we going to do this year? What do you got, Ben?
I have 25. We have 24 races, if you include China, which you can't see my expression if you're listening in just audio, but we'll see.
We'll see.
That gives room for a little over one per race, and I know that there are some races that won't have any, so I'm hopeful.
Yep. I've got 29. Same reasoning. I think we're going to get a little more than one per race on average. But we'll see. Might be more. All right. Most fastest laps. Who do you got, Ben?
I have Verstappen.
I've got Sainz.
Interesting.
No particular reason. I just don't think it'll be Verstappen because he doesn't have to drive as fast as he can to win. So that's my reasoning. Total different race winners.
I think there's going to be 3 this year, which, like I said, is half the amount that I thought in IndyCar.
Okay. And I'm going to say 4, which is half the amount that I thought in IndyCar.
Yep. Who do you think are going to be the race winners?
Verstappen, Perez, Norris, and... Oh, don't put me on the spot like this, Ben. I'm going to say Leclerc gets his first win in a couple years.
Wow. Yeah, I was going to say for my top 3, I've got Verstappen, Perez, and I was going to give it to Sainz.
Yeah.
I know he kind of
Sainz
lucked out in Singapore and got that win by the skin of his teeth, and Red Bull's poor performance there, but I want to believe he can do that again.
Yeah, I think Sainz is probably more likely to get the win than Leclerc, but Leclerc has been suffering for the last couple of years, and he's about to get paired next to
A
what a lot of
7-time
people
world
consider
champion.
the GOAT. Yeah, so I need him to get a W this season. Uh, all right. Next up, we've got fastest pit stop team.
I've got Ferrari for this one.
I've got McLaren because they've won it the last 2 years.
Yep.
Total DNFs.
I've got 50, which is far less than what you have.
I have 71. Uh, I think an average of 2 per race plus. Yeah, I might be a little over. Uh, we'll see. I'll keep it where it is, but
Yeah. Well, I guess 50
I
DNFs
think it
only
was
counts for both Alpines per race, so I might be a
yeah,
little low on that.
right. Speaking of which, team with the most DNFs, we both have Alpine.
Yep. Old
Uh,
reliable.
yeah, it was Williams last year because well, it was Logan Sargent last year.
Yep.
But I think he'll be better this year.
I
He's
do
not a
too.
rookie anymore. All right, driver with most pole positions.
Max Verstappen.
Yep, both have Max Verstappen. Most consistent driver.
Also
Both
Max
have Max
Verstappen.
Verstappen. Yep. Least consistent driver. We disagree on this one.
Yeah. Perez has the highest ceiling, I think, given his car, but also the lowest floor, given his luck.
Okay. I have Yuki Tsunoda because he has moments of brilliance where he'll get fifth place. And I think that will just be elevated because I think the RB will be better than it was last year. But then he also has races where he's just kind of in last. So that's why I've got Tsunoda there.
All right.
Most consistent team.
It's going to be
Both of
Red
us
Bull.
have Red Bull. Yep. And then least consistent team. This is interesting.
Good old Ferrari.
Yeah, Ferrari doing Ferrari things.
Yep.
And I have Aston Martin. I think they'll be up and down, kind of like last year, but I think it'll be a
Mm.
little more extreme.
They'll just get measurably worse after summer break when every other team
Yeah.
gets better.
Right, exactly. All right, so that rounds off our full season predictions.
Almost.
Now we have a couple of grab bag predictions. They're just they're not under categories. They're just predictions that we each have that we'll see if they come true.
Yeah.
All
so,
right.
yeah, my first prediction is GP2 engine or something similar where Alonso will complain about some aspect of his car being terrible.
Okay. Let's change that to Alonso complains about his car
Okay.
because at the end of the season we're not going to know what GP2 engine means.
That's fair.
All right. My first prediction is Haas will sell to Andretti Global.
Wow.
That's my prediction for 2024/25. I think this is Haas's last season. They have just fired their team principal and hired someone who has no experience being a team principal. They have 2 drivers that are really they're fine. And they have not built a good car in 5 years. Gene Haas has already pulled his funding. He's not funding the team anymore. They just have his name attached to him.
Cool.
So if Gene Haas is tired of being the butt of every joke in Formula One and is offered the right price from Mario Andretti, or it's Michael Andretti runs Andretti Global now. If Michael Andretti offers him the right price, I don't see Gene Haas saying no.
Yeah, I hate that that's probably how Andretti's going to have to get in if they want to get in sooner than 2028, but I mean, I'll take what I can get.
Yeah. I'm gonna put a percentage on this. I think there's a 40% chance that this happens.
Bold odds.
Hmm?
Bold odds, indeed.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. My second prediction is Red Bull will sack Christian Horner. This is much more topical to right now, but it might be a little bit before we get any actual action after the findings, or I don't know. We'll see.
Well, Ford wants something before the race, so
Yeah.
I think it'll probably be this week we find out.
Yeah. And I think even if the allegations are, deemed to be false by the investigation, whatever happens, I don't know if Horner will stay given all the controversy that this has swirled up and all that's come into question about the team. I think that's a lot of publicity that will probably want to be put behind them.
Yep. Percentage on this probably 70.
Wow, that high? I was going to give it a 60%, but 70,
60.
yeah. 60, well, I kind of
No,
want
you're
to
probably right.
I kind of want
60.
to just wait a little more because the allegations might turn out to be true, in which case that's 100% likely. And if they turn out
Yeah,
to be
if they're
false, I
true.
think there's still a pretty good chance that he doesn't stay for much longer.
Yeah, if they're true, he's definitely gone. If they're not true, yeah, who knows? Uh, I just think Ford is gonna drive the decision a lot more than anything else
Yeah.
because they do not want to lose the Ford deal because they'd be screwed. They'd be so far behind everybody else, uh, in terms of just deals and paperwork and like everyone's already got their engine supplier set for 2026. So yeah, Red Bull does not want to fall behind like that because they'd probably what they'd end up having to do is stick with Honda.
Hmm.
Uh, Honda's already going to be Aston Martin's supplier in 2026, so they already are developing a car. They're already with Honda. Um, but then it's like, would Honda want to take Red Bull because Red Bull jumped ship? So it's hard to know.
Yeah.
Uh, that's when it gets dicey and complicated. So I would say Red Bull just does not want to lose the deal with Ford.
Yep.
All right. Next up, number 2 for me, I have Norris wins a race. We already alluded to that. But that is my other prediction. I'm not going to put a percentage on this because I'm a McLaren fan and they always let me down.
Yep.
But yeah.
Expect the worst and hope for the best.
Yep, exactly. All right, number 3, Ben, what do you got?
I have Pelot to F1 rumors start again. I gave this
Oh, you
a
changed it.
95%. Yeah, I did change it. I gave this a 95% chance of happening.
Okay. Pelota F1 rumors again. Well, I've already started them, so you can check that off the list.
Wonderful.
No. All right. Official F1 rumors, like we're talking all over Reddit.
Yep.
Um,
Which is our official source of news, if you didn't already know.
which means that news is 1000% accurate
Yeah.
and not speculatory at all. All right. And then my final grab bag prediction is P2, P3, and P4 teams in the championship finish within 20 points at the end of the season. So, second, third, and fourth, whether that's probably going to be Ferrari, McLaren, and Mercedes, I think we'll all be within 20 points of each other at the end of the season.
Okay. I like that one. That one's exciting.
Yep. All right. That is our full season predictions officially done. Let's move on to our weekly predictions. We are closing in on the end of this episode. We are at an hour 22 minutes, so probably a good thing.
Yep.
Well,
there's a lot to talk
Bahrain.
about.
There was a lot to talk about. Lots to go over. All right, Bahrain Grand Prix. Top 5, Ben, go.
Verstappen, Hamilton, Sainz, Perez, and Russell in 5th, with Albon as my dark horse.
Okay.
I think we're right back where we were last season.
Yeah. I have Verstappen, Sainz, Leclerc, Perez, and Norris, with Alonso as my dark horse.
Very nice.
Fastest lap.
And it's going to be Verstappen.
It's going to be Verstappen. Yeah, both of us put Verstappen. And then driver of the day, who do you got?
I think Hamilton. If Hamilton comes in second, especially after a lot of people saw the testing results, I think that he will probably secure that bag.
And I, for the exact same reason as you, have put Carlos Sainz.
There we go.
If he comes in second, I think he'll get it.
Now they're just competing for driver of the day in addition to Ferrari seats.
Yeah. All right, Ben. Those are our predictions. Let's go over everyone's favorite segment, Ben's Words of Wisdom.
Indeed.
What do you have for us in this first inaugural episode of Season 3 of RevHang?
This might be a little political, but invest in defense ETFs and the industrial military complex. your money is going to them anyways. You might as well get some back as dividends and stock options.
Oh, I love it.
There's an ETF that I've been watching. Most of the ETFs since, early 2000s have gone up by hundreds of percents in points. So it's a very, very safe. Well, hold on. I should put a disclaimer. This is not
We are
investment.
not.
This is not financial advice. Do not.
Please don't get us sued,
Yeah.
Ben. Can't afford that.
But, I mean, they just keep going up. And, bad things keep happening. And if there are companies that make a lot of money off of that. So this is getting so bad.
It's gonna fit right in on Rumble. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah, but I genuinely think that if you want to get into stocks, I think military industrial complex ETFs, which are essentially a conglomeration of a bunch of different company stocks, are going to go up a lot of money. Take that for what you will.
Okay, not financial advice.
No, not at all.
Just Ben's unofficial words of wisdom.
I'm not even sure it's really that morally sound, but
I love
it
where
is what
this
it
season
is.
is going. This is gonna be
We're
a
off
fun
to a
one.
really strong start.
Yeah.
Also, if you see what I'm screen sharing with you right now,
Uh-huh.
it's my favorite meme that I've seen so far this week.
I'm not sure I get it.
Hold on, can I share this with everybody
Yeah.
else?
Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, make sure everybody can see it. Yeah, so
You could to explain.
it's the Alpine team cycle. It starts out and it's so over, and then as the season goes on, it's so over. You get towards the middle of the season after summer break, and it's so over. And then as you get to the end of the season, you realize it's so over.
Okay. All right. No optimism in Alpine's fan base whatsoever, apparently. I love it. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. I love this being able to share things that I think are funny that nobody else thinks are funny with everybody else.
Well, that's gonna happen, Ben. I just didn't understand it, but it does make sense now.
It gets funnier once I explain it too, I think.
Yeah, it does. Yes. Yeah, it's true. It's 1000% true. All right. With all that being said, thank you everybody so much for watching and listening. We're very glad to be back. We love talking about F1. We're super excited for the season ahead. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a like or rating on the platform you listened on. If you want to see more, subscribe or follow. Helps us out a lot. If you want to see updated standings for IndyCar and F1 or a calendar of upcoming racing from those two series, check out our website, RevHang.com. If you have questions about racing or about us, hit us up on X, formerly known as Twitter, using hashtag RevHangPodcast. We may feature your question on the next show. You can follow Ben on Instagram at BenjiMeetsWorld and myself at 2n_squared. We'll be back in a little over a week to talk about the Bahrain Grand Prix, but until then, I've been Nathan.
And I'm Ben.
Thanks for hanging out, everybody.
Take it easy.